Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks. Sorry for the delay in videos. Just wanted to be ready for this show. And, what a week of wrestling it was. As I cover just the results of WWE Survivor Series. Then I'll cover, in a bit more detail, Monday Night Raw, NWA Power, and AEW Dynamite. No Impact this week because they just did their Throwback Thursday special where they just kind of have a little fun and be other wrestlers. It's actually quite entertaining. I definitely recommend going back and watching. Especially if you like cheesy 80s wrestling. Because that's what that was. Anyway, let's get into Survivor Series results. Match numero uno, we got Women's War Games. Now, what that is, you have 2 teams of 4, 2 rings, covered in 1 cage. Weapons are allowed. However, the match does not start until everyone enters the ring, then first pinfall or submission wins. Also, if you happen to escape the cage, your team is automatically disqualified. So, we got that, as we got Team Bianca Belair, that's Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, and Shotzi defeated the full force of Damage Control, that's Bayley, Asuka, Io Sky, and Kairi Sane. This is probably going to lead to Bayley being kicked out of the group, maybe turn back into a babyface, although I don't see them bringing back the tube men that Bayley previously had. So I think we're going to probably end up seeing that pretty soon. Maybe not super soon, but soon enough. Next match, Gunther defends his Intercontinental Championship against The Miz. He successfully defends it via submission, which I am surprised this wasn't like a quick squash match, but apparently it was a really good Miz showcase, so I'll give him benefit of the doubt. Next up, bit unfortunate because it did not get a ton of time, Santos Escobar versus Dragon Lee. Now this was supposed to be Santos versus Carlito, but Carlito got written out due to an angle. Where Santos attacks him on the SmackDown Before Survivor Series. So Dragon Lee steps up. I assume they had a decent little match, but was hoping they'd be given a bit more time. But of course, Santos Escobar picks up the victory because he recently turned heel. So you need some momentum with that. Next up, we got Rhea Ripley defending her World Women's Championship against Zoe Stark. A lot of people now see what some other people see in Zoe Stark. She really brought it to the Women's Champion. However, she fell just a bit short in getting the title. And finalimo, we got our main event, which is the Men's War Games match. This time, it's 5-on-5. And, we got Team Cody Rhodes. That's Cody Rhodes. Seth Rollins, the World Champion. Main event, Jey Uso. Sami Zayn. And the returning Viper, Randy Orton. Good to see him back. As they take on the Judgment Day. That's Damian Priest, Finn Balor, and Dirty Dominic Mysterio. Oh, and JD McDonough. He is officially a member of Judgment Day now. And they team with Drew McIntyre. And that was pretty much a highlight show, including Randy Orton catching JD McDonough in an RKO to pick up the victory for his team. And then, as the face team is celebrating, who happens to come out? Of course, it's CM Punk, making his WWE return after 10 years, which, I'm going to say this. I know a lot of people are excited. I want to be excited, but after what he did in AEW, I have grown sour of the man. So, hopefully he can win me back with some really good matchups, or, hell, a decent promo at least, to really get me back on his side, because right now, I'm not feeling him. Alright, so that was a Survivor Series. Gonna be interesting to see how WWE follows up as we go right into Monday Night Raw. And we start off not with a Cody Rhodes promo, but with a Randy Orton promo. And I'm going to say, I missed this guy. Like, it's funny to say, but I've been looking forward to his comeback for a while now. And, he pretty much says that I'm back for as long as I can be. And while I've been gone a while, it's given me time to think. There's one thing I've never done, and that's competed in War Games. And that's why when Cody Rhodes called me, I immediately said yes. I was invited to be a part of history, making moments, and while I love making moments for you guys, I have some unfinished business with the Bloodline. And I've made my career of injuring folks. And I've got a bag of receipts for the entire Bloodline. In which, that may spell trouble for Mr. Jey Uso. We'll see about that. And he continues, those receipts are going to come in the form of the 3 most dangerous letters in WWE, the RKO. Oh, it's good to hear his voice again, man. But then, of course, Judgment Day interrupt, although it's just Rhea. So that's interesting. Rhea comes out, pretty much says, hey, welcome back. What a performance at War Games. It's a shame you had your big return upstaged. Hint, hint, CM Punk. And while you did manage to come back, you don't seem to realize that things have changed here in WWE. And Judgment Day is the most dominant force here. And we're all dripping in gold. And you've made some enemies of the Judgment Day. Randy Orton retorts, while you were here, doing your job, at least I can get the job done, and I'm going to put you out permanently. And while everyone calls you Mommy, Daddy's home. What a retort by Randy Orton, man. Randy Orton continues, yes, a lot has changed. But one thing that hasn't, no one tells me what to do. Rhea replies, alright, you've made your bed then. I gave you an out. You should have taken it. Then from behind, JD McDonough and Dom Mysterio jump Randy Orton. From behind, Orton fights back. Goes for a DDT on Dom. JD saves him. And then hits JD with an RKO. Because apparently JD McDonough is now cannon fodder for Judgment Day. Then Randy gets back on the microphone and says, hey, Dom, don't you go too far. I'm going to go find Adam Pearce, the Raw GM. And I'm going to get you and me one-on-one tonight. Nice little fired up promo from Randy Orton. And a match against Dom. While a lot of people are like, it's Dom, he's going to be awful. I gotta tell you, Dominic Mysterio is one of the most improved wrestlers in the past year. He's, well, I'm not going to say excellent, he's really good now. And then we get this weird backstage promo with the tag teams and tag team turmoil. It's revealed that Otis and Akira Tozawa will be representing Alpha Academy in the Gauntlet match. And then apparently they got a special guest for this match in Jelly Roll, who apparently is a country singer, which I never really heard of. In comes another returning superstar. It's R-Truth. And he's like, oh, Jelly Rolls, I love those things, man. And trying to do, the usual R-Truth bad comedy, which, honestly, I've definitely missed that too. So then R-Truth very much says, look, I'm going to go to catering. I'm going to get me some Jelly Rolls before they finish them up. We then go to our first matchup of the evening. It's the Tag Team Turmoil match, in which two teams start. Once one team is eliminated, another comes in and replaces them. And the winner, at the end, gets a tag team title shot. So, I like that. It's stakes. It involves pretty decent amount of people. And, we start off with Alpha Academy, that's Akira Tozawa and Otis, taking on DIY, that's Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. This match was fun for what it was. I wouldn't say it's anything special. Tozawa definitely got some good stuff in, including a double worm with Otis. Well, worm, caterpillar, you know what I mean. For a close 2 count. And then Gargano and Ciampa with a meet in the middle for a relatively quick victory. I'm glad that Tozawa and Otis are given more time. But we roll right into DIY taking on Indus-Sher. That's, oh god, what are their names? Veer Mahan, if you remember him, because he was always coming. And, who's the other guy? I'm sorry, I don't remember the other dude. Sanga. Indus-Sher start off really dominating. Johnny Gargano slips in. It's a sliced, it's a big old clothesline, and then a roll up for the victory for DIY. Yeah, nothing really special about this matchup. It's to get the monsters in, I guess. Next up, we got a little rematch from a couple weeks ago, as it's the Creed brothers, that's Brutus and Julius Creed, taking on DIY. And this match definitely woke up not only myself, but also the crowd. They worked really, really well together. And after a big old power bomb and a Brutus ball, which is, opponent in the electric chair position on Julius' legs, and Brutus jumps from the top rope into a little ball to pick up the win for the Creed brothers. Next team in, we got the Creed brothers taking on Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, the New Day. One of my favorite tag teams ever. And while not as long as the DIY match, I thought this was a pretty good matchup again. Kofi and Xavier Woods' speed taking on Brutus's brute strength definitely warrants a watch back. Although Julius isn't bad either. Definitely more the technical part of this team. But once again, after a moonsault into a Brutus ball to pick up the win for the Creed brothers. And that leaves us with the last team in the gauntlet. You got the Creed brothers taking on Giovanni Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser of Imperium. And this is really where the crowd woke up. These two teams had an amazing bout with one another. Brutus and Julius tried for the Brutus ball, but Vinci counters out of it. Imperium trying for their own finisher, but that gets kicked out of. And then we get a superplex into a Brutus ball for the win for the Creed brothers. I'm glad the Creeds are getting a tag team title shot now. They're getting a nice little push. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with Judgment Day. Speaking of, we got Judgment Day back in the clubhouse. You kind of got Damian Priest and Rhea talking. Finn Balor comes in. He's like, guys, I've been watching this gauntlet. Creed brothers are no joke, man. We gotta take them seriously. In which, that's how you put over someone without losing a match. That's how you do it. I'm loving these little details WWE are doing. Keep this up. Anyway, then Priest is like, alright, I know what you guys want to do. I was the captain of the team for War Games. Go ahead, let me have it. Then Rhea all of a sudden is like, no, Priest, if you've forgotten, we're a family. And we win together and we lose together. So we're good. Something tells me they're not very good. So they kind of move on from that. Then Priest asks about JD McDonough. Balor reveals, oh, he's still in the trainer's office. He's getting looked at. And Priest and Balor go in and check on him. We then get a Cody Rhodes in-ring promo. Starting off with how he usually does. Brings up how many stories are coming out of Survivor Series, especially with Punk, Randy Orton returning, us beating Judgment Day. He thanks his teammates. He especially thanks Randy Orton, who was a mentor to him early on. And I've made so many memories, especially in my father's match. If you don't know, it was Dusty Rhodes and WCW that created War Games. So having Cody Rhodes be in it is symbolic. It's nice. Then he brings up Punk saying, no one had any idea that was going to happen. And of course, everyone is tuning in to what he has to say. And with all the news being made, I'm going to make some news right here myself, as I'm going to be the first one to declare myself for the Royal Rumble. So I'm glad the Royal Rumble build is getting started. Then, all of a sudden, lights go out. On the big screen, you have Nakamura, who pretty much all but reveals the mystery person he was coming after was Cody all along. A lot of people were saying, oh, it's going to be Punk, it's going to be this guy, it's going to be Okada. But no, it's Cody Rhodes. And at the end, he pretty much says, yeah, I'm done waiting. Lights go back on. Nakamura's right behind Cody. Cody turns around. Red mist to the face. And yeah, that's I'm I'm going to say this. I do feel like I want to see Nakamura win matches more. But I do also feel like this elevates him up the card a bit. Like, Cody is easily one of WWE's top guys right now. So, I think, helping elevate someone is exactly what is needed here. Anyway, our next match. Oh, and by the way, that first hour of Raw was completely commercial free, which I do appreciate, but it did mess with the flow of the rest of the show because they had to make up ad breaks throughout the show, and it was just right in the middle of some important stuff. Anyway, that's just me. Let's move on to our next match, and it's in the meat division. You'll see why in a minute. That is Bronson Reed taking on Ivar of the Viking Raiders. And yeah, these two guys pretty much brought everything. I will say the match itself wasn't anything to really get hyped, all that hyped over. Like, it wasn't a bad match at all, but it also wasn't what I know these two guys are capable of. Like at one point, Bronson Reed goes for the tsunami. Valhalla is up on the apron, distracting the distracting Reed, who then gets down off the top turnbuckle. Valhalla gets thrown out. They keep going for a little bit. A low blow from Ivar, which that's surprising. And then a big old Death Valley driver into the barricade. And neither man can answer the 10 count, so it's a double count out. Now, normally I would be, oh, this is so lazy, this is blah, blah, blah. I completely understand why they're doing this. They're going to save this for a, hopefully, big enough show. Like, let's have these two in the Rumble one-on-one. Let's in maybe some sort of big weapons match or something. So, I'm not against it. The angle that happened afterwards is where it gets interesting. So, basically, they're still brawling through the crowd. They go near a box of, TV equipment. And then officials come out. Ivar tosses one of the officials at Bronson Reed. Anyway, dang, I hope that guy got paid really well for that. That was a great spot. And then Ivar with a big old senton off the equipment box onto Reed and the other officials. Yeah, I'm definitely a bit more excited for this next chapter of this rivalry. Next up, we got Shayna Baszler and I don't want to say Ricky Starks. God, what is her name? Anyway, Shayna Baszler is talking about how at Survivor Series she had Rhea at the ropes. You were this close from being the champion. And you're going to get another shot in the future here. In comes, of course, Nia Jax, who's saying, you fell short again. Boo-hoo for you. I'm going to tear this division up. And then Baszler gets right into Nia's face. Shut your hole. Which is a little nod to... I want to say it was during the Thunderdome era, where Nia Jax landed butt first on the ring apron and shouted, "My hole!" which was memed to death by that point. So, anyway. Zoe Stark, that's who it is. Zoe Stark pretty much says, alright, Shayna, I don't need you fighting my battles for you. I got this. And they look right, her and Nia look directly at each other and says, well, you're looking for a fight? You've found one. Nia's like, yep, that's exactly what I wanted. Then we get Priest, Balor, and JD McDonough. They're walking back to the clubhouse. They turn in. You see Truth eating his jelly rolls on Judgment Day's couch. They're like, you realize where you are, right? You're in our clubhouse. And you say, oh, it's a great place. I'll clean this up. Anyway, I wanted to come to you with a business proposal. I want to be on your War Games team. And the priest is like, Truth, this already happened. We already lost. Thanks for making me relive that, by the way. Oh. And then R-Truth then leaves. JD then says, don't you worry. I'll take care of Truth. So an R-Truth versus JD McDonough feud? Alright. Sure. Why not? Then we get this very odd women's match. Like, Nia Jax versus Zoe Stark. Looks like they're about even, but then, kind of from out of nowhere, Nia with a Samoan drop and an Annihilator to pick up the win. My bias against Nia aside, and yeah, I'm definitely biased. I don't need to see Nia Jax go for a title. I'm definitely more interested in like Zoe Stark or Xia Li. I mean, heck, let's build up to Becky Lynch versus Rhea. Let's do that soon. Anyway, then we see the full force of Imperium backstage. That includes Big Boss Gunta, who says, next week, we're going to get the job done. They definitely start arguing a little bit more before. I didn't quite catch it, though, because they were talking about a mile a minute. Then the Miz Kaiser and Vinci walk out. Miz walks in. Trouble in paradise. Gunther's like, what do you want, Miz? What are you doing here? Miz reveals, well, I'm obviously a worthy challenger, and I'm still coming for your title, and I wanted to challenge you face to face. Then Gunther's like, you sure about that, Miz? Because the last time you came for my title, I beat you within the inch of your life. You're obviously no threat to my title. So next time, come prepared for a fight. Just not with me. So, I don't know if this Miz Gunther feud is going to continue, but I'm kind of into it. Like, not to say I'm a fan of the Miz, especially babyface Miz, but it's kind of working. Like, I don't know. It's something about Miz babyface this time that's clicking. Anyway, next we get a Seth Rollins in-ring promo. And then the crowd starts chanting, CM Punk, CM Punk. In which Rollins replies, hey, is that all you got? Get it out of your system now, because I don't want to spend another minute on that hypocrite. Which, dang, yeah. How about instead we talk about me and my title run. And I gotta be real with you, I'm not feeling great. But I'm starting to get that itch again. And I saw Pierce earlier. And next week, Drew McIntyre's music hits. He comes out, grabs a microphone, says, "It's been a crazy 48 hours, huh?" And we know what's most important. And I want to just shake your hand. Drew extends it. Seth shakes. Pretty much saying, yeah, Judgment Day had the master plan of having me in a cage match with Jay. But that obviously that didn't go to plan. And that's been driving me mad. But now I'm going to refocus and get back to that world title. And that's why I'm out here. Do you remember what you told me before Crown Jewel? Seth replies, yeah, I remember that. That losing would be the best thing for you. That match would be the best thing for you. Drew replies, I got no one to blame but myself. I was at a point where I had you at Crown Jewel. I struck you with a claymore. But then at that moment, I felt something. I felt sympathy. Well, now that's done. That's where you had me. You did what you did. You fought back. That loss was on me. And if I want to swim with the sharks, I'm going to have to dive head first. And I want the rematch I deserve. Seth replies, yeah, you definitely deserve a rematch. But someone a little over you deserves it a little more. And that's why next week I'm going to be defending the title against Jey Uso. And immediately as those words hit, Drew McIntyre with a Glasgow kiss right to Seth Rollins, including, and then a big old suplex, some really big blows to Seth Rollins, and Jey Uso comes out, fights off Drew McIntyre, and then he and Seth hit a pair of super kicks to fight off Drew McIntyre. And yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. If I can make a little prediction here, I don't think that match happens. I think Drew is going to end up taking out Jey Uso. Now, post-brawl, Jey Uso sees the world title, picks it up, gives it a look over, hands it back over to Seth Rollins. So, nice little interesting moment. I don't think Jey is going to be a heel again. But, like I say, I think Drew's going to interrupt the match next week. Anyway, next up, we got Drew McIntyre. He's kind of walking around backstage. Then in barges Sami Zayn. He pretty much says, look, I get it. You're in a bit of a spiral out of your life. We all go through hard times. I've had the same low points as you against the Bloodline. But I picked myself back up and I got back on track. Drew, you've got everything that's going for you, but you're acting like a spoiled little brat. And you're better than that. Drew replies, okay, you're right. I can start rebuilding myself back up to the world title. I'm going to go see Pierce and set up a match next week with you. Oh, Drew versus Sammy. That's going to be a lot of fun. Next up, we got the women's tag team titles on the line as Tegan Nox and Natalya take on the team of Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, who are the champs. This match definitely had a bit of trouble getting out of first gear. Eventually, it did get into the second gear, but ultimately, Piper Niven fought off both Natalya and Tegan Nox to pick up a win after the low cross body. God damn it. So, nothing really new there. Hopefully we get some legitimate challengers in soon. Because, women's tag division is feeling a little light. Let's say. Alright, anyway, next up, we got Randy Orton. He's kind of working out for his match backstage. Then Jey Uso is in. He goes up to Randy Orton and he says, "Hey, man, thanks for helping us in War Games. I heard you out there talking about the Bloodline. And, Cody gave me a second chance. So are you willing to leave the past in the past?" Randy Orton replies, "I've been seeing you out here the last few months, and as far as we're concerned, we're good. And as long as you're not in the Bloodline." And then Jay's like, "No, definitely not." I'm going to say this, I don't like that. He said he has receipts for all of the Bloodline. That should include Jay. Unless this is a swerve bro, in which, whatever. But I'd like to think Randy Orton is going to give out all his receipts. Next up, we got a Becky Lynch interview. Pretty much saying, "I'm feeling very light ever since I lost my title. I've been to war. I never knew what line I'll cross. And know what's going on the horizon." So, not really sure where Becky Lynch is going with that. Hopefully it means a Rhea feud sometime in the near future, but, fingers crossed. And now we got our main event match of the evening as Dominic Mysterio takes on Randy Orton. And I'm going to say this. Dom looked really, really good in this match. Randy Orton, pretty much going through the motions, but he's doing it pretty well. Hitting a power slam and an RKO early. But then JD McDonough saves Dominic from a pinfall. Then who's sitting at ringside? It's Jelly Roll. Because of course it is. He knocks down JD McDonough with a push. Gets Dom. Randy Orton with a couple of big old suplexes on the announce table. Gets Dom back in. Draping DDT to JD McDonough. Dom with a big old drop kick. Tries for a 6-1. Hits a 619. Goes for a frog splash. Randy Orton moves out of the way. RKO. Your winner, Randy Orton. I wouldn't say the most exciting main event of all time, but I have missed Randy Orton, so it's definitely good to see him. And Fine Alamo, our main event, and it's a CM Punk in-ring promo with, I'm going to say this, unless AEW still has rights to Cult of Personality, that remix is awful. Like, I'm telling you, listen to the remix that he comes out to. It's bad. It's not good. Anyway, starts off with a little Bret Hart. Looks like hell froze over. Pretty much mimicking his return to WWE in the 2000s. 2010s, actually. And, saying that because there's me with a microphone in my hand in a WWE ring. And I'm feeling more like myself. I can't explain how I felt. And I have 2 words. And I'm scared as how true they are. I've changed. And this is me speaking from the heart. You cannot go wrong. I'm home. Ugh. I've come back, and I didn't know how everyone would react. And you guys have obviously never forgotten about me when I wanted to forget about me. The voiceless has found a voice, and I've missed all of this. And the wise man once told me I needed to leave and come back to get what I needed to get out of this company. And that's when I'm back. And it's been nothing but love from everyone in the company. Oh, and AJ's great. She sends her regards. And some are afraid of the truth. Everything I've ever wanted has been here. And I understand them being afraid. I've come to terms of being best is done and has no lie. The best is back. And I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money. I'm going to say this. The last part of that little bit of a dig at AEW, let's be frank, was the best part of this promo. This was pretty much a rah-rah, I'm back in WWE promo. The same promotion whose doctors sent him out with a staph infection. I don't know. Look, I'm just going to say this. Ever since what he pulled in AEW, the 2 brawls, the whole thing with Collision, I definitely see Punk in a different light than a whole lot of people. Which is why I didn't go that crazy when he returned at Survivor Series. Now, could he potentially win me over with some really good matches and some really good promos? Absolutely. This was a step in the absolute wrong direction. Like, I wasn't expecting him to drop a pipe bomb. I wasn't expecting him to bury AEW. I was expecting a little bit more passion, a little bit more fire than just a rah-rah WWE promo. And, I'll give him a chance. But right now, I'm not feeling CM Punk. Which is very weird for me to say. Anyway, so that was Monday Night Raw. Overall, kind of an odd episode. Like, obviously the first hour of Raw being commercial free kind of added to the weirdness of the whole show. Like, the pacing of it was just off. And there were just some matches that, I don't know, it should have been a little bit longer, or I don't know, maybe have been on another night. Either way, there were definitely some entertaining bits, but overall, kind of a meh episode of Raw. So we'll leave that Raw behind for now. We're now going for NWA Power, in which we start off with the television title on the line as Mims defends against newcomer Carson Drake. I am definitely not familiar with Mr. Drake. However, he did impress me in his first outing on Power. And while he did succumb to the big strong slam for Mims to retain, he definitely showed out and showed why he belongs. I think he's a great addition to NWA, And hopefully they let him, maybe have a promo somewhere down the line. Speaking of promo, we got a podium interview from Thrillbilly Silas Mason, our national champion. He says, "I'm a man of few words, and I'd like to introduce my friend, my brother, Devon Dixon." Dixon then comes out. He thanks the fans, thanks the NWA for this opportunity, and thanks Silas, who then says, "Don't thank me just yet." And he tells this little story about how, they were pretty much inseparable, how when Silas was down for a bit, Mr. Dixon picked him up, and he pretty much got me to the NWA. And once I got here, I had 3 goals I gave to the NWA. Make money, win the title, and get my friend a job. And next week, I'm going to defend my title against you. "It's on, babe." Mr. Dixon then replies, "It's on, baby. And I'm coming to win." Ooh, those are some fighting words. I'm definitely pretty hyped for this brother versus brother match. I would like to see some more build for it, but honestly, I'm digging all these newcomers coming into the NWA. And then we get to a mixed tag team match, which is very weird. Don't normally see these on NWA, but we got Tom Latimer and Camille taking on Brian Idol, aka Mercurio. I mean, let's face it, that was Mercurio. And Natalia Markova, who know they were a couple. And we start out with Camille and Markova picking up where they left off in their last meeting. Idol and Latimer get into it a little bit ringside. They then each tag in, and I'm going to say this, Idol definitely has some good stuff in his gas tank. Then the women come back in. They start beating the living hell out of each other. Markova with a beautiful destruction kick on Latimer, which, that was interesting. Camille then comes in, tries for the spear, but that gets countered by Idol. Low blow by Latimer, roll up, and your winners, Camille and Tom Latimer. So it looks like we're getting these two as heels, which I'm definitely okay with. And we'll see where this goes. We then get a Joe Alonzo backstage interview, pretty much revealing, it doesn't matter which season this is, I'm still beautiful, they're not. Alex Misery, unlike you, all I need is my skill and my looks to be the star I am. And next week, I'm going to take you out of your misery. So, nice little short and sweet promo from Mr. Alonzo. Then we get the third part of the Who Wants to Be a Spectacular Part 3. Then Midas has a post-match interview, in which it's revealed he did not register an offensive move in his time in the ring. Rush Freeman reveals, I want to be a future champion, man. It's not going to be with this guy. So then Midas walks off. I want to give Burchill a call, and let's see what we can do together. It is then revealed the other participants have been DQ'd from the competition. Mr. Billy Corgan then contacted some others, and one answered back, and it's Slade, who is an Australian wrestler who was on the World is a Vampire tour with the NWA when they were over there. Slade goes over his accomplishments. Then Rolando says, "Would you pass the airport test?" In which pretty much, would people stop and gawk at you? Slade then replies, "Do I look like a dancer to you? I'm the total package. I'm not just a star. I'm a wrestler." Rolando then replies, "I respect your brashness. I'm going to have to see to believe." Billy Corgan then reveals, "Alright, next week you guys are going to have another match. But this time, if you lose, you're going to be taking a break from the NWA." Which, definitely going to be interesting to see. We don't know the opponents yet, but I guess we shall see in the next couple of days or so. Next up, we got Ruthie J, former number one contender for the women's title, taking on NWA newcomer Tiffany Nieves. And this was a really, really fun match. A lot of good back and forth, a lot of good leg sweeps, bunch of roll-ups. Then Nieves with a big old armbar to get the submission victory. Definitely a shorter match than I would have liked, but I'm definitely interested to see where Miss Nieves goes. Then we get an interview with the newest tag team in the NWA, Slime Time. Which, that's a great name, by the way. Pretty much saying, we don't care what you call us. Slime Time is a sin. It's never pretty. And we're ready to get dirty next week with our opponents. We then go right to a podium interview with women's champion Kenzie Page, calling out her opponent Samantha Starr, in which she says, I'm just going to call her Sammy. Then she says, "Sammy, whatever your plan is, you're not going to get past me. You're scared of me, Sammy. And I'm going to keep my title for as long as it takes." And Fine Alamo, we got our main event of Power. We got Tim Storm and Jack Stain taking on Trevor Murdoch. And the returning and the NWA in-ring debut of Paul Burchill. Now, if you don't know who Paul Burchill is, he was in WWE for the briefest time. For a little while in the early 2000s, he was a pirate, which is very interesting. Then he had this weird angle where he wanted to have relations with Katie Lee, which, ew. If you remember Katie Lee Burchill, aka Winter from TNA. Anyway, this match was pretty much a hoss fight from beginning to end. Tim Storm looking absolutely great out there. It's good to see him back in the ring. Jack Stain with a pop the trunk. Holds in Trap City. Trevor Murdoch then grabs a chair and hits the referee with it. So the winners by disqualification, Jack Stain and Tim Storm. Murdoch then bails out of the ring and was like, yeah, So it looks like he's done with Mr. Burchill. Post-match, Jack Stain, Tim Storm, and Burchill all shake hands. So, definitely an interesting way to end NWA Power. It does look like we're going to get Murdoch versus Jack Stain in the near future, in which, yeah, I'd be down for that. So, yeah, interesting episode of Power. I wouldn't say anything super stood out, but there was a lot to like on that episode. And fine Alamo for this evening. We got AEW Dynamite, which starts with Bryan Danielson finding his way to the announce table to watch this round-robin match of the Continental Classic between Jon Moxley and Jay Lethal. Now, I know I missed a week due to the Thanksgiving holiday, but I will go over the Continental Classic rules for us. So, basically, this is going... 12 wrestlers have been separated into two groups. They're going to face each other at least once per however many times. And they're going to accumulate points. So winning wrestlers gets 3 points. Count out, you only get DQ, you only get 1 point. And the loss, you get nothing. Also, if you are in a group, that group is banned from ringside. Hold on. Then how is Danielson on commentary? Yeah, that's... Okay, whatever. At least it's not ringside. And I'm going to say this. Jay Lethal brought his A-game for this matchup. Moxley is always on point for me. I don't think he can really do any wrong. Jay Lethal kicking out of a Death Rider, that was impressive. But ultimately, after a pile driver into a bulldog choke, in which then Moxley uses his leg to trap his legs, your winner via submission, Jon Moxley. So he gets another 3 points. He's up to 6. We then get an Eddie Kingston promo from last week's Collision. Pretty much says, he knew this tournament was going to be tough. I was too cocky putting both my titles up. No one deserves anything. I got Bryan next. I am currently behind the 8 ball. I'm not going to go back. I'm going to heal up. And I'm going to be ready for Bryan. And then Bryan, on commentary, was the exact opposite. I'm going to be cocky in wins. I'm going to be cocky in losses. And Eddie, I'm coming for you. So, nice little promo from Bryan Danielson. Then we get a backstage announcement from Tony Schiavone, which reveals Revolution, which is AEW's next big show, is going to take place in Greensboro, North Carolina. And this brings out the 2 men of the hour. You got Sting, who is going to be retiring at that show, and Ric Flair for an interview. Sting brings up his history in that building, in which he had his first world title match against Ric Flair in that building. And he would never have guessed I'd be having this interview 45 years later. That match was commercial free. And I was in the ring with the best. And he put me over. And thank you, Rick. Rick then chimes in, that's a real fitting place to end a career. Words cannot be spoken in volume in what will take place in North Carolina. And I remember that night walking back to 25 wrestlers saying that you're the man. And At Revolution, we're going back to Greensboro for the greatest moment of your life. One for the ages. And then Ric Flair and Sting do the woo together. And Sting pretty much chimes in, oh, it's like the 80s all over again. I am still of the mind that Ric Flair doesn't really add anything to this Sting program. However, if he just wants to be along for the ride, I guess that's fine. Although, upon seeing what he said on Rampage taping after Dynamite, that's not great. Anyway, next matchup. It is another Continental Classic match as Mark Briscoe takes on Rush. Now, these guys have some wild history. They've faced each other many times for the Ring of Honor title in Ring of Honor before Tony Khan brought it. And honestly, they picked up right where they left off. This match was absolutely underrated. Lots of really good back and forth. Jay with the froggy bow, but that only gets a 2 count. Rush blocks the Jay Driller. Finally gets him with the bullhorns to pick up his first victory. This was definitely a very, very fun outing for both of these two. I do hope eventually Mark does get some points on the board. Anyway, next up, we get a Toni Storm interview in which she's backstage. She's got her entourage with her. Pretty much telling the interviewer, I was just rudely interrupted by you, by Sky Blue last week. After that, we partied well into the night. I'm very fatigued. But am I worried about my title? No. And I'm just ready for my close-up. I cannot tell you how much I'm loving this Hollywood starlet thing Toni Storm's got going on. And honestly, there's one person I cannot wait to see her face. That's Jamie Hayter. And I know we're probably still a while from that, but a guy can dream. Anyway, next up, we got an MJF promo. In the ring, just by himself, with his walking cane, which I love that cane. That's a great little addition. Pretty much says, December 30th, me and Joe are going to be competing for the title. When it comes to Joe as a person, I don't really like him. But I respect him as a performer. And he came here because he believes in those 3 letters up there. AEW, AEW, chant. And then he continues, back into the 2000, I got a TNA poster, and I'm like, who are these guys? So once I got tuned in, I was hooked, and one man really stood out to me, and that man was Joe. He was confident, unconventional, badass man on the planet, and his talents weren't recognized in WWE. Ooh. And what Joe did for the sport was overshadowed by his run in WWE. Joe pretty much broke the mold, proved that alternatives matter, and without Joe, there might not be an AEW. So, thank you, Joe. However, I'm not too shabby myself. I've paved my own road, and I helped build AEW brick by brick. And I did that by beating the biggest names in the industry. But I was lucky to survive Joe. He's a wrestling legend. And on December 30th, it isn't about your legacy, Joe. It's about maintaining mine. And I'll make the promise to you guys. I don't care how hurt I am. I promise I promise to show the world it's not about the size of the fight and the dog in the fight. It's about the size of the fight and the dog. And then, to beat me, Joe, you gotta put me down. Which, great little line. But then, the lights go out. And during the confusion, the Devil's minions start attacking MJF. Then, Joe's music hits. He comes out with a chair. And he fights off the Demon's minions. Then, for a few minutes, the feed seems to cut out. No sound, no video. Then just text. Max, are you willing to go into the unknown? Are you willing to have a tag team match against someone you don't know? How about it, Max? You and Joe versus two of my guys next week. So then, lights come back on. MJF back on the mic. Pretty much says, yeah, I'm sick of your Scooby-Doo crap. I'm going to beat all your boys. I'm going to take you out. And I'm going to reveal your identity. You want a tag team match next week? You're on. And then you see Joe kind of like, man, what are you doing? So let's see if they can coexist next week against two of those Devil's minions, which should be pretty interesting. We then get Wardlow taking on AR Fox. Wardlow coming out looking a bit disheveled. Perhaps a minion of the devil. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Fox tries to take the fight to Wardlow before the bell. Ultimately, he gets caught. An F5 on the apron. They both get back in. Wardlow with a big old suplex. Bell rings. Wardlow with a Beal. Couple of strikes right to the head. A military press, but that gets countered into a drop kick. AR Fox tries for a 450 splash. That only gets a 2 count. Wardlow comes back with a spine buster, a clothesline, couple of power bombs, right into a swanton bomb, which that was impressive. And then one more power bomb after a ref stoppage. Your winner, Wardlow. So, interesting little squash match. We'll see where Wardlow goes from here. Hopefully, we'll see maybe a Devil Minion or two revealed. Who knows? Anyway, next up, we got a 6-man tag team action. As Action Andretti teams up with not only Darius, but the returning Dante Martin. That's right, Top Flight are back in action. Taking on Matt and Jeff Hardy and Brother Zay. And I'll admit, this was a better match for the Hardys that they had in a little while. But ultimately, the hometown team picks up the win after a big old moonsault and just a bunch of suplexes to pick up the victory. Now, post-match, we get try to get a backstage interview with Top Flight and Action Andretti, but in rolls Pentagon Jr., Commander, and Vikingo, with Penta counting 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So it looks like we're going to get a heck of a Lucha Libre match next week. And I can't wait. That match is going to be nuts. Next up, we got the TBS title on the line as Julia Hart takes on Emi Sakura. And now, apparently, this is a house rules match in which alright, cool. And the stipulation added is you cannot win the title via submission, which is interesting because that's how Julia Hart wins her matches. And honestly, this was definitely a very interesting little matchup. I do wish it had a little bit more time. Sakura tries for her own moonsault. That misses. Julia Hart gets a Heartless in. You can see Sakura tapping, but the ref's like, no, you can't do that. You can't win the title that way. So then Julia gets up to the top rope, hits her own beautiful moonsault to win and retain her title. Like I said, I wish this matchup was given a bit more time, but I do understand why they didn't want to make it go too long. We then get a backstage interview with Mariah May, who thanks the interviewer for introducing her to Toni Storm. Then she pretty much goes on, I know I'm the new girl in town, and I want to show AEW what I can do. Then she walks off, knocks on Tony Khan's office door, goes in, and closes it. So, we'll see what we get from Miss Mariah May in the coming weeks. We then have a Christian Cage interview, and then he's surrounded by AEW security guards. He calls out Adam Copeland. Initially, he doesn't come out. Cage pretty much says, look, I just want to talk, man. Man to man, just you and me. Then Adam Copeland comes out. Looks like he's trying to get his hands on Christian Cage. But he can't do that because he's hiding behind security. Cage then reveals, look, management wanted me to have these guys out here, but we don't need these guys right now. So, security, I want you guys to just leave. We don't need you. So, security leaves. Christian Cage continues, look, man, you challenged me to a match for the TNT title next week, and you're not going to be able to make it to Montreal because I'm sorry. Copeland replies, you're only sorry because you're on your own. And Christian Cage replies, yeah, you took out Nick Wayne, you took out Luchasaurus, Killswitch, and then the crowd just gave it to him. You fucked up. You fucked up. Christian Cage then continues, I just needed some time to think, so I got in my car last week and I took a little road trip for some soul searching of sorts. And I think to myself, why am I this way? And this drive reminded me of the times we shared as kids when we would steal our folks' car and thinking we were just going to make it anywhere. We've been champions anywhere. We take the wrestling out of the equation. This friendship runs deeper. We grew up together with single moms. You grew up with a single mom. No way suggesting I'm your father. I'm your brother. And my dad pretty much became your dad. We're not just some random two guys to be thrown together. I love you, man. You were there for the hardest time in my life when your mom died. And her last wish was wanting to see us team up again. So let's do that. For your mom. Let's go for the titles. Copeland then starts to turn around. Looks like everything is copacetic. Christian Cage goes for a title shot with the TNT title. That misses. right into the low blow from Adam Copeland, who gets back on the mic. Nice try, dumbass. Why don't you shine this title up real nice? Because next week, this is coming home from me. Oh, and before I forget, go fuck yourself. That was a nice little moment. A nice build to what will probably be a really good title match next week. And Find Alamo, our main event, our last, at least for tonight, Continental Classic Tournament match, as Switchblade Jay White takes on Swerve Strickland. And you start by having both guys look behind them on the ramp, looking for their, teammates. Of course, they're not there because they're banned from ringside. And they had easily one of the best matches of Continental Classic. A lot of great back and forth. Both guys trying to cheat pretty much at the same time. Swerve with a house call and a Swerve stomp that only gets for a 2. Switchblade Jay White hits a Blade Runner, but then Swerve rolls to the outside. Gets him back in. Bunch of roll-ups, only for a 2 count. Jay White tries for a Blade Runner, that gets blocked. Swerve tries for a JML driver, but that gets blocked. Jay White tries for a Blade Runner again, that gets blocked. Right into a roll-up for the victory for Swerve Strickland. And honestly, again, that was a really good match. Almost down to the wire for the timing. This was definitely a really, really solid episode of Dynamite. Can't recommend the main event anymore. And that is it from me. I hope you all enjoyed. Please like, comment, share this video around the internet. Coming up next, probably on Monday, I'm going to be covering MLW and probably Collision. And then we're getting pretty dang close to the holiday season. I hope you guys all have a happy holidays. And until next time, happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.